All right, good afternoon. My name's Jonathan Singer. So 3 years ago, all of the major social work organizations in the United States launched the Grand Challenge Initiative. The idea was that if we put our resources behind 12 grand challenges, then we can make a significant difference in the world as we know it. I am part of the Technology Grand Challenge, along with Melanie Sage, Stephanie Berzin, Claudia Colton, Sherry Miller, Brendan Beal. And we have 2 working papers, one on practice technology, one on big data, and we have policy recommendations. Now, one of the things about social work is that we are in all aspects of life, right? Imagine wandering up these staircases, we touch everything. But innovation in technology and social work, or technology and social services, tends to come from outside. We have an ethical imperative. Social work is both uniquely positioned and ethically obligated to ensure that the drive of technological evolution is a project open to all, and that it does not replicate or amplify existing inequalities. So, how does this look in practice? Well, 5 years ago, April Foreman and Tony Wood, April is a psychologist from the VA, and Tony Wood is a computer specialist. They went to a suicide prevention conference in Austin, Texas. And Tony said, we're surrounded by all of these people who are talking about saving lives, but nobody outside of the conference knows this. I mean, imagine going to a conference where people are talking about changing the world and nobody outside of the conference has any of this information. So what they decided to do is they decided to create suicide prevention in social media, #SPSM. And what #SPSM did was it had weekly Twitter chats and eventually simultaneous live feeds where they had people from all walks of life. Computer programmers, technicians, psychologists, neurologists, economists coming in and talking about suicide prevention. The last Twitter chat that we had was 1 hour. We reached 17 million, we had 17 million timeline impressions. This is a 5-year project that has made an enormous difference in getting the word out about suicide prevention. And what that meant was that when we had recent suicides in the United States, people involved in suicide prevention were used to talking to the media. We were used to getting the information out there at every single different point, be on message, be able to talk about what really mattered. Now, some people in suicide prevention, as well as social work, are starting to argue that the noise is more important than the signal. That we need to start talking about what is the noise out there that we've been ignoring, and how do we focus in on that and better understand it? Well, that's one of the grand challenges of harnessing big data, right? Now, we think about big data as this shiny, beautiful object, but as we've heard today, or this week in this conference, big data and big analytics is simply statistics. It's getting the right information. It's about knowing how to interpret it. It's about getting it out there to the right people. I'm a huge fan of podcasts, and I think that podcasts are one of the ways that we can harness technology to democratize information, to get it to the right people, to make sure that those that have traditionally been disempowered have a voice in the public sphere. Now, sometimes using technology can feel isolating. It's isolating as a faculty member and being the only person on your faculty that knows how to do this, the only social worker in your agency that's excited about it, and it can also be isolating when you have conferences and some people are saying technology's great and other people are saying we got to get away from it. So what does this mean for the future? Well, it means that in social work, what we need to do is we need to make sure that the 10th grader, the 15-year-old that loves to play video games, thinks about social work as the place they can go to change the world. Not computer science, but social work. We need to make sure that when Google comes out with an app to schedule restaurant appointments, that somebody is on the board at Google saying, well, what if that same technology was being able to use to schedule discharge appointments and to make sure that people had continuity of care? And then the very end, we need to think about how important it is to have diversity of thought. One of the reasons why I think that SPSM was so successful is because it wasn't just psychologists. It wasn't just social workers. It was people from all walks of life. And we know that when people from diverse backgrounds come together, they're more creative, they do a better job at solving problems. So social work has a storied history. It's a beautiful profession. And we work from the smallest to the biggest. But we need people who can start to think about social work, who can start to think about social services and the problems that we're facing from a new perspective. So that we're not just looking at a beautiful spiral one way, but we're looking at it in a totally new way so that we can solve the problems of today and anticipate the problems of tomorrow. Thank you so much.